What was the inspiration behind the autumn-winter collection?
I started with, I basically met this incredible woman, Linder Sterling, the artist, and it was completely unintentional, but we got along very well and in a completely different context. And so I asked her if she'd be interested in collaborating, and I knew her work vaguely, but not so well, really. And it was only after that, after I met her, that I kind of became really affiliated with her work. And because it deals a lot with female identity, I thought it was perfect for kind of reinterpretation through fashion. And she's always used fashion references as kind of source material for her collage, so it became. I guess it just made sense. So we basically started working together, and I actually didn't know what the outcome would be or what the inspiration really was to begin with. But I guess I just analysed her work and based the whole collection on her. So, I mean, it's kind of complicated, but I suppose it was because her work dates back to '77 or the early, late '70s rather. So there's a lot of material to kind of, it was very, rich, inspirational source, and it was quite difficult to, I guess, dissect that into something that was a succinct message for a fashion collection. But I guess it was just more about displaying kind of her point of view on female identity, I suppose. And the prints, the original kind of print references were bought from eBay, and were basically a 50s soft porn shoot that she'd bought the contact sheets for and negatives from eBay, and then again the irises that she used to superimpose over the top were from eBay as well. So yeah, she basically just made them especially based on her stuff.
I think it's quite surprising that despite the fact that she's known as a punk artist, and what you were saying, kind of it's pornographic images that were used in the prints, the collection itself was really refined. Well,
it was completely intentional, and we talked about this idea of using glamour as a Trojan horse, in the sense that it would have been really easy to be sort of sensationalise her work, her early punk work, and I felt that what was kind of more relevant to that ideal now was to do something actually super chic and really refined, because that's almost like the new punk for me and for her, and we talked a lot about it. And also this idea that if you're creating a message for a fashion audience, people are easily turned off by heavy-handedness, I think. So it was kind of where I say it was like using this Trojan horse idea. It was speaking the language of fashion and using the references really subtly, so that the perversity in the collection was kind of almost second to the chicness, and it becomes almost more hard-hitting because it's quite refined. That was the idea anyway, yeah.
From kind of inspiration to the realisation, this is perhaps covering a large period, but what is your working process?
I guess I've refined it over the years, but so that I know that now I have sort of, if I get to a 3-month sort of bracket before the show, and I know that I've got to start the research, and so basically I decide the mood, work out. I think I work more sort of as an art director, more so than a designer in a way, because I'll think of a mood and think of the spirit of the collection and kind of see the final sort of idea realised on a catwalk in my head, and then I'll sort of slowly start to sort of focus in on the different components. So obviously like the shapes. But so it starts with mood, then research, visual research, or whatever the research is. But you need to, because I can't pattern cut or sew, I've got no technical ability whatsoever, and I'm kind of not that interested in it. I'm interested in the kind of realisation of, but not actually, doing it. So I guess I need to translate those ideas to my staff, like pattern cutters, and machinists. So in order to do that, I need to have a easily read kind of language, visual language, for them to understand what I'm trying to achieve. So I just basically find references that fit the mood, and then I can do a lot of chatting, and we talk about ideas over looking over a visual. And then we work out a shape that feels right, and then we'll do a fitting of the basic sort of block shapes and the silhouettes, and from there, I guess, I'll do a lineup of, say, 32 outfits that are kind of in running order, and then we'll sort of start to dissect the patterns, so that there might be 5 blocks within a collection, so I'll allocate 1 block per pattern cutter so that they can work on a story, so it keeps it kind of tight. So in a way, there's generally about 5 sort of subtle themes running through the collection, and they will have been worked on by different pattern cutters.
So it kind of gives a different handwriting to those different areas of the collection, and
yeah,
your people work to their strengths and things like that.
Yeah, like I always see the whole thing as a really collaborative effort, and I really like it that way. That's kind of the way I enjoy working with the team, and I have really incredible, amazing people working with me that I absolutely love, and it's kind of a little family, and it's kind of the way I like it. I wouldn't like to kind of work alone, and yeah, I don't know, it's just, because I can't actually do anything technically, I enjoy the whole process of working within a team and the dialogue, I guess, that comes out of that.
I think over the last few years there's been kind of a lot of discussion about a new movement of London designers who've sort of reinvigorated in London and roused new interest in London as a fashion capital. First of all, do you feel that's true, and do you feel that you're part of that?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel, yes, I feel it's completely true, and yes, I do feel part of it, yeah, and I'm proud to be part of it, for sure. I think, I think this sort of, I feel like the old ideal that London's a breeding ground and then people should eventually leave, and that's kind of what proves their success is kind of outmoded, and I actually feel that we should be more proud of London and proud to stay here. And obviously people traditionally would leave because commercially it makes sense, because you may not have the buyers or the press, the same echelon of buyers or press coming here during Fashion Week, but I think that's changing, and I think the more that we sort of stick together as a unit within London, then the more people will be forced to come here. And yeah, I mean, I think this season will be particularly exciting with Burberry coming back and some of the big advertisers coming back to London.
I think just kind of on the back of that, I think it's interesting, not just this season, but that kind of a few seasons ago you had kind of Luella come back as she was opening a shop but then staying, and other people, particularly this season, are kind of coming back to celebrate London. But I think maybe it's that London's suddenly becoming more viable. And
also, like, on a really base level, I think it's actually cool, you know what I mean? It's cool again, it's got a good energy, it's inspiring. You go to other cities and it just isn't as inspiring in terms of fashion. Like, obviously, you go to Paris and the houses are there, and there's younger designers that are, amazing, but somehow there's a raw energy to London again, and that's traditionally what it's known for, but I really feel like it's all going on here right now, yeah. So I'm proud to be part of it, for sure.
Well, we started off talking about kind of your present, and we've talked a bit about the future, so I'd quite like to go back and talk more about the past.
Okay.
Before you established your label, you studied at St Martin's under Louise Wilson.
Yeah.
Why do you think kind of so many amazing names, including you, have come out of that course?
I think not to disregard Louise's input, because she's absolutely amazing, I'll come back to that, but basically, first of all, I think that the college has such an incredible reputation, and probably 80% because of her, so she probably has the best applicants in the world. So you're starting with, I guess, a kind of beneficial platform. But I think just because she is honest and she's got an eye and she's incredibly intelligent and personable and hilarious, and the students just respond to her because she talks to you like she's one of us, and I don't know, she's just got whatever it is, like that je ne sais quoi,
I'm delving even further back into your history now. Why did you want to become a fashion designer?
I didn't actually know that I did want to become a fashion designer until I moved to London. When I was a kid, I was always interested in youth culture and personal expression through clothes. And I actually came to London. I was born in London, but I grew up in Australia, so I had a British passport, so I was able to come back. And I came back 2 weeks after I finished school in Australia because I was completely over living there. But the plan was to basically do sculpture at St Martin's, so I applied for an access course, foundation course at St Martin's. And within the access course you have to choose 3 areas of study, and I chose ceramics, theatre design and fashion. And I just ended up, I guess that was the first realisation that fashion was actually an industry and potentially a job, because my experience of kind of clothes in Australia was pretty much just sort of all around, you know, grunge culture and youth culture. And I guess I realised that I had kind of a natural leaning towards that once I realised it was an industry. So is that making sense? I don't know, but yeah.
Kind of that it was a realistic way that you could be creative and make a living out of it.
I mean, I thought about doing fine art, and then I just thought, well, you know what, this is actually a commerce, and I actually don't want to necessarily be like on the bones of my ass at 30, and oh, the irony, but yeah, basically I just thought it was a kind of more realistic avenue to take.
My final question is just what are your plans for the Richard Nicoll label, and how would you like it to develop?
To be honest, I always try to make a point of not making long-term plans because I think it negates the present a little. So I take things as they come, season on season, and you know, I'd like to be around, and I'd like to have integrity in 10 years' time, and I'd like to be in control of what I was designing. But I never really think about that kind of thing, to be honest, personally. I just take it as it comes. I think all that you need to worry about is sort of what's right in front of you, and let destiny control the rest in a way.